Hello and welcome to A Gypsy's Kiss, the book club. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Stick with us for a couple of seconds and we will tell you what it's like to be in the middle. Although neither of us are in the middle, I guess.
We could put the book in the middle.
All right, put the book in the middle.
I'll get it out.
Pardon?
I have to get it out.
Oh, wait, I have
Here
mine.
it is.
All right, stick with us a couple of seconds and we will tell you what it's like to be in the middle.
All right. And notifications have gone out, so people should be showing up in a few moments. And we'll be talking about The Thrill of the Chase, Chapter 7, Me in the Middle. It's a very short chapter.
That's an understatement. I mean, seriously, it's a really, really short chapter.
It's a page.
What are we drinking today?
This. Notorious Pink.
Notorious Pink.
Like
Great wine. And it's cool because it has a
glass stopper.
A glass stopper instead of a cork, so you can put wine in there and save it. I don't know what you do with it. I just think I've always been fascinated with the name Notorious Pink and the fact that it has a glass stopper.
Yeah.
So here's to children.
Grenache.
A white Grenache.
Children.
A French, 2015. Here's to children who find themselves in the middle.
Okay.
Because they're always the most challenging.
Well, it's a good thing that neither one of us was that.
No. I was an oldest child in the class.
I was going to say something silly like, here's to finding the treasure next week on
Oh,
the
okay,
recon.
all right, okay. Mm.
Yay.
My favorite children were always in the middle. Okay. A little bit of, what do you think?
A little bit of, what do you think?
No, a little bit of...
It's fruity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
But very nice between sweet and dry. I mean, it's a nice Grenache. Most of them tend to come off a little bit too sweet. This one is just...
Oh, no, it's not too sweet.
Yeah, I like it. Glad you do. I'll get more bottles.
Okay. I guess people are waiting for us to get started here.
What? We're having fun. Okay,
All right.
go ahead.
So today...
Here's some
Housekeeping. We want to thank our moderators, Jimmy Fast, Man in the Barn, and Joel Lewicki. Those gentlemen are here so much, and we really appreciate them being here with us, keeping an eye on the chat for us, and making sure that everybody feels safe and heard, and they just do a wonderful job.
And we would appreciate it if our viewers would sometime during the day thank our moderators for doing a great job, because they make us feel better about doing this stuff. I've been in other chat rooms on other channels, and it can get pretty raunchy at times. Raunchy is probably not the right word. Rough and tumble.
Rough and tumble.
And our moderators do a good job of making sure that doesn't happen. So.
And today's presentation on Chapter 7 will be...
Oops, that's incorrect. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Followed by a Q&A that relates to Chapter 7, hopefully, and anything else in the book that comes before Chapter 7.
And the little advisory that we have today is we have to limit this to an hour because we have a planning session starting at 2:30 our time. So we'll only be on for an hour for the session. And it is likely that from this point forward we'll keep our book club live streams to about an hour. I don't think they need to go beyond that. You guys do a really good job of getting your questions out early.
You can keep in contact with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel at agypsyskiss.tv. Click on the bell to receive notifications. Click on the bell again to turn notifications off. And you can find our blog at agypsyskiss.com. You can also subscribe to the blog to follow it and any updates that we put out. Find us on Instagram at _gypsies_kiss and on Twitter at agypsies. We're on Facebook at A Gypsy's Kiss, and you can email us at agypsieskiss@gmail.com.
If you'd like to acquire some of our merchandise with our branding. And there's two different things. One of the one branding is the Gypsy Kiss logo, which we designed ourselves, and the other is what we call the Up in the Mountains logo, and it has the tagline,
Look for me.
in the mountains somewhere north of Santa Fe. So you can get those at Zazzle.com. Make sure that before you leave today, you like this video and share it with your social networks. That helps us to grow the channel. And of course, if you're not already a subscriber, click that subscribe button, become a subscriber. If you'd like notifications when anything happens on our channel, ring the bell after you subscribe. If you don't care for the notifications, just don't ring the bell, and then you can watch all the things that we do to promote ourselves.
And just like Dr. Brown.
Wow, Dr. Brown. Thank you. That was very kind of you. Dr. Brown, did he ask a question?
He has not yet.
Okay. So what Dr. Brown has just done is take advantage of the Super Chat. It's one of the ways that we can earn money from YouTube by doing all these videos. Well, actually not from YouTube, it's from you because it's your contribution and your donation. You can get to Super Chat by going down to the bottom of your screen, whether you're on a desktop, laptop, or I want to say iOS device, but I mean all mobile phones, smartphones, and click on the $ button and then just follow what they ask you to do. We strongly recommend that if you're going to make a donation via Super Chat, make sure you ask a question, because what happens is your donation is given a very bright highlighted color and goes right to the top of the chat room, and we want to make sure we get those questions answered as quickly as possible, especially today where we're going to limit the conversation to about an hour. And then finally, if you don't care to make a donation today in the chat room and you'd like to donate to our project in another way, you can go to our paypal.me account at paypal.me/gypsieskiss and donate any amount that you're comfortable with. And that's all done with the safety and integrity of PayPal. What do you think?
It's very golden color, like, the gold.
Oh, that wine that we found at Casa Rodinho that one time?
Yeah, but gold.
Yeah.
Gold.
As
just
opposed
gold.
to, very nice.
The metal.
It's supposed to be kind of pink, but
it is a little pink, but
I
a pink
guess you're
gold.
for a white Grenache.
Yeah.
Okay, enough drinking.
Okay.
And I keep hitting my mic. I've got to move my wine bottle. I mean, my wine glass.
All right. This week in AGK, you have joined us for our Tuesday vlog, our Wednesday panel, and our Thursday book club. Tomorrow, we'll be having our Just the Facts video that comes out at 1 o'clock, and Saturday
is a special day for us, and I'm gonna overlay this screen over us. On Saturday on our business channel, it has been relatively inactive because we've been focusing on a Gypsy Kiss and not our business. But there's some videos that we wanted to do about how we produce the work on a Gypsy's Kiss. So on Saturday, and we want to be able to build that so other people can share in it. So the easiest way to do that is via a live stream. So Saturday at 10 o'clock on our Video Tarot channel, and you can get there at videotarot.tv and subscribe. I mean, if you want to see some of the other work that we're doing. At 10 o'clock on Saturday, March 24th, we're going to talk about how we use Zoom.us, Google Docs, and the open broadcasting software, along with Livestream, to produce our shows. I've had several questions and emails about it, so I thought a good way to answer it was actually to do a demo. It'll take about an hour. We'll leave it open to Q&A. Shelley's going to join me via remote Zoom, so that we can show you how it works. And she knows a lot of what I do, so she'll be able to answer the questions as well. So join us Saturday, 10 o'clock on our videotarot.tv channel rather than this one. Okay?
Right. And just be aware that we are not yet at 1,000 viewers or subscribers on Video Tarot. We're trying to get there, so we do hope that you will subscribe. We'll be putting out new content every week. Probably not on a regular schedule, but we're going to have different playlists. One of those playlists will be for things such as we're doing on Saturday, where we're describing a setup of some sort of video scenario and how to do that, what equipment you need, how to put it all together. Another playlist will be drone footage. So when we go out next week, when we get the drone up in the air, we'll be taking some flight footage of the area, and that will be on Video Tarot in a separate playlist. And we will be doing metal detecting from beginning through advanced, because we're going to start with me, who knows nothing, and I'll be learning about metal detecting, and we're going to be practicing it, and we're going to take it with us when we go on our recons, and that will be another playlist available there. And if we come up with more great ideas or hobbies that we want to explore, those playlists will go on Video Tarot. We're going to keep a Gypsy's Kiss just for the Fenn treasure search.
So one of the benefits of raising 6 children is that you get to go through these phases of learning that they go through. I learned all about, for example, radio-controlled car racing because one of my boys took an interest in it. One of the advantages to having Shelley as a partner is she has a natural curiosity, and she'll see something that I'm doing. I had my metal detector out because I was going to go play with it on Sunday, and she asked, how hard is it to learn? And I said, it's not hard to learn, and it's a lot of fun. And sometimes you find things of great value, and sometimes you find junk. The key is to get really, really good at it and do enough of it so that one day you find something of great value. Now, I'm going to qualify that and say, although we take our metal detector when we go up on our recons for the Fenn's treasure, we don't expect to use it for Fenn's treasure. We take his advice that if you're close enough to find it with a metal detector, you're going to trip over it anyway, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing what he said. So, but it's just another fun hobby that I have. And like I said, one of the advantages to having Shelley as a partner is she's got this innate curiosity. So when she sees something, whether it's a drone or a metal detector, she asks about it and then asks about learning about it. So it's a lot of fun for me because it reminds me of the things that I learned with my children.
Are we ready to hit it?
Yeah, we're ready to hit it.
All right. So let's get started with Thrill of the Chase by Forrest Fenn, Chapter 7, Me in the Middle, pages 34 and 35.
I'm sorry.
Page 34 is just photographs.
Right. So just overall, I mean, it's a one-page, and it's not even a page. It's probably 3/4 of a typewritten page. Just what were your general perceptions before we get into the specific?
That it was written... When he talks about, I wanted my daughters to know who Clark Gable is, I want people to know who I am. And he's just giving you his background of who his family is, so his family tree.
Okay. So I'm going to start with page 35, paragraph 1. Our family was probably a lot like most other families, only better. My maternal grandmother, Ari Beatrice Simpson, used to tell me about when she was a little girl growing up in Fort Worth. In those days, the Comanches would sometimes run through the family's barnyard trying to catch chickens. She'd stay inside the house with her nose pressed against the window and watch. On page 35, paragraph 2, he says, my mother, Lily Simpson Fenn, also grew up in Fort Worth, but by then most of the wild Indians were gone. She met my father when he was attending TCU, that's Texas Christian University, and they were married in 1926.
So this feels like Fenn is telling us his family history so that his daughters and their families will know about it. When he says that his family was better, he is telling us of his pride in them. He looked up to his brother and respected his parents. His word for precious is little, stemming from his little sister being precious to the family. His grandmother is his link to a history that included Native Americans before they were confined to reservations, and he had to love and honor her for being that touchstone in his life.
He did have a way of finding himself back to those time periods. I've always wondered if he wouldn't have been happier living in the past. Don't you think?
I think it's more of an investigating, time-traveling thing, just enjoying it, enjoying what it was. I don't think he wanted to be a mountain man, knowing how very rough that type of life is, but reading about it and getting to experience those moments that are in the books, the Trapper books. And
Well, there was a period where every year he'd go to that Mountain Man rendezvous, wherever it was, and that really is the Mountain Man experience, because you leave the current period at the door before you walk into wherever they're organizing. So I'm sure you
well,
have his
and like
opportunities.
you, of course, you were in Vietnam. He was in Vietnam. It's not a comfortable life. It's just barely above camping out. So when you get home and you have a home, and to be comfortable, I think it's nice, as you know, to go out camping once in a while. But it's nice to have that home to come home to.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think one of the things that you appreciate when you have done as much traveling as I have is how good it is to have your own bed in an apartment that's with a temperature regulation and where you can close the doors and have your own private space. So yeah. Okay, let's go on to page 35, paragraph 2. I just noticed my son, Jason, is in the chat room. Hi, Jason. I know this is a busy time for you because you guys are getting ready for your vacation. So thanks for taking the time to drop by. We really appreciate it. Make sure you promote your Tinwork sites on both .com and Etsy before you leave today. Page 35, paragraph 2. My brother Skippy came along 2 years later. Then it was my turn, followed by my little sister...
You're talking to Siri?
I don't remember even saying Siri. Oh, hold on. I got to turn Siri off here.
That was Siri. She wanted to get her words in edgewise, too.
I don't know what she picked up on.
You said
that's
Etsy. No, it
Was
doesn't
it
even
Etsy?
sound like Siri.
Well,
I
it
don't
was
know.
just enough.
That's
Okay.
weird.
Sorry for the interruption. I have a very attentive...
I think we're going to have to get Alexa instead.
Yeah. So, page 35, paragraph 2. My brother Skippy came along 2 years later. Then it was my turn, followed by my little sister June. There were 2 years between me and both of them, so I was in the middle, and that was significant because I felt somehow surrounded.
So I'm going to read from Wikipedia, or do you want to?
Oh, can I? May I?
Yeah.
From Wikipedia. Middle child syndrome is the feeling of exclusion by middle children. This effect occurs because the first child is more prone to receiving privileges and responsibilities by virtue of being the oldest, while the youngest in the family is more likely to receive indulgences. The second child or middle child no longer has their status as the baby, and it is left with no clear role in the family, or a feeling of being, quote, left out, unquote. Wow. That's very descriptive, isn't it?
Well, and that's middle child syndrome. But in a moment, I'm going to go over some things that were researched by an educator about middle children. That's a little more accurate.
Oh, okay.
So this is more of a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, is it redundant to say common stereotype? A stereotype is stereotype.
So Fenn describes being the middle child as being surrounded rather than left out. Probably like the game of Not It, where he was surrounded by people saying, "Not it," and he was the one left to clean it up, fix it, or get blamed for it. Being in the middle was significant because he felt surrounded. That could lead us to a hint that the treasure is located in the center, surrounded by all of the clues in the poem.
Interesting way to pick up on that. Being in the middle?
Treasure's in the middle.
Treasures in the middle
Yeah.
of that 500-foot radius Amy Smith spoken wheel.
Okay.
Page 35, paragraph 2. Skippy was older, so I looked up to him, and June was younger, but I couldn't look down to her because my father wouldn't allow it. Does that seem fair? Though you're looking at me like I'm supposed to know this,
Supposed to know what?
of whether or not it's fair. Skippy was older, so I looked up to him, and June was younger, but I couldn't look down to her because my father wouldn't allow it. Does that seem fair?
Well, you had a younger sister, and you were the oldest, though.
I was the oldest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was type alpha male, type A, classic.
And you told me that your father carried your little sister around a lot. She was the princess.
No. She was the queen.
The queen. So How did that make you feel? How did that make Vincent feel, your brother?
I think Vincent responded to it negatively because I really felt like he was the one that suffered from the middle child syndrome because he was the baby and he was the most adorable baby. I mean, he really was the cutest member of the family. For a long time, we were separated by 15 months. Rita Ann was 15 months younger than me. Vincent was 15 months younger than her. So he was the baby for a long time. And then 4 years later, along comes Paul David.
Mm-hmm.
So now he becomes the baby. And the one that reacted more negatively to it was Vincent. And the reason was, until my father passed away, Rita Ann, being the only daughter, was literally the apple of his eye.
Mm-hmm.
So she got a lot of attention. But she also took it the hardest when he passed away. So...
Well, I have to imagine that they treated June much the same way that
Mm-hmm.
your sister was treated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that.
The little queen or the little princess.
Yeah, especially with the dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Fenn spends much of this chapter focused on his family and his place within it, including birth order. Birth order has been studied and shown to affect how children behave and grow into adulthood. He takes a moment out in an aside once again to ask the reader a rhetorical question. Does that seem fair? This seems to be a typical response of a middle child.
That they've been treated unfairly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to read this from Psychology Today, or do you want to read that?
Oh, I will let you.
Okay. From Psychology Today by Lynn Griffin, registered nurse, Master of Education, posted October 18th, 2012, titled Special Characteristics of the Middle Child. They have lower self-esteem than others because of their lack of uniqueness and attention at home. Self-esteem fluctuates depending on successes and failures. They avoid rocking the boat because they dislike conflict. They are loyal to friends and partners. They achieve because the way they're brought up. They develop strategies and skills that stand them in good stead as adults. And that's very characteristic of Fenn, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
They are excellent negotiators. Wow. They are excellent negotiators used to not getting their own way, and so they become savvy, skillful manipulators. They can see all sides of a question and are empathetic and judge reactions well. They are more willing to compromise, and so they can argue successfully. Since they often have to wait around as kids, they are more patient. They are trailblazers, and they are more likely to affect change than any other because their combination of risk-taking and openness to experiences leads to a willingness to try new things. They are focused on fairness. They perceive injustice in their family and are attuned to the needs of others as they grow up, siding with the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a real interesting description because it takes all the positive attributes of the individual while not ignoring how they grew up, right? It may have been, what is that old saying about that which does not kill us makes us stronger?
Yeah.
I think this applies to being a middle child, because I think a middle child, they can perceive that they're at some sort of disadvantage, but I think it toughens them, and I think that toughness pays off in later life. As you know, I had a last family, a third family of my 6 children, and it was a classic, you know, older, middle, and youngest child. And there's this really cute Christmas picture where, as a matter of fact, Jason is holding the baby, and Ryan is smiling, and Erica, the middle child, is looking there like, and the caption that we put on it is, the day Erica realizes that she's the middle child. But she's grown up into a tough, assertive, make-up-your-mind woman who, you know, got herself through a logistics program in college, is married, works, has her first baby, and is just tough as nails, and you know, and I think she learned all of that by being that middle child. So, but let's go back. I'm sorry, I'm talking more about my family than Fenn's. But if you go back to that, they achieve because of the way they brought up. They're excellent negotiators. They can see all sides of the questions and be empathetic. They are willing to compromise so that they can argue successfully. They often have to wait around as kids, but they're more patient. So these are all, you know, the classic one here from Fenn they're trailblazers likely to affect change than any other because of the combination of risk-taking and openness to experience. I mean, when I read that he became a fighter pilot without a college education or, for all intents and purposes, any kind of technical background that would have enabled him to easily do it, the challenge from the military at that point was, we just need guys to fly airplanes effectively. Yeah. Anybody want to volunteer? And he had the courage to take on that challenge and became very successful. You don't fly that many combat missions. You don't become a major in the Air Force with a successful 20-year career and a nice retirement check if you didn't have the persistence and the risk-takingness to get you through that. So I think this is a much better description of the middle child than the one you find in Wikipedia, which, as you said, is very stereotypical. Mm-hmm. So what did you think of this analysis in comparison to the Wikipedia one?
Well, I felt it was more apropos of Fenn, and I thought when I read the last part, he sides with the underdog, and that reminded me of, I wrote this poem for that guy who just lost his job and he's got 10, 12 kids and they all need to get in the truck and go look for it, and that is who he wants to find the treasure, somebody who really needs it. When he donated the money from the proceeds to Collected Works and asked them to set up a cancer fund, he was looking towards giving that money to somebody like a small minority child who couldn't afford that type of care. He does look after the underdog whenever he can. He looks after children when he can. You know, he did the drawing to raise money for the Children's Museum.
Santa Fe Children's Museum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So which one of these characteristics in this definition in psychology today would you think drove him towards the idea of hiding this treasure?
That I don't know. I think I'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
Let's keep going.
Let's keep going. By the way, a reminder that we're going to take each of these analyses that Shelley has been writing for each of the chapters, and at the end of us analyzing The Thrill of the Chase, we're going to put that into a little ebook for her and make that available to you. Page 35, paragraph 2. My siblings are gone now, and so are my parents. It sure would be nice if they could all come back so I could be in the middle again.
And we always miss what we don't have. As a child, Fenn missed the opportunity to be the oldest or the youngest, somebody unique within his family. As an adult who has outlived the rest of his birth family, he misses the family who has left him behind. Fenn hid the treasure because he wanted to break the rule, you can't take it with you when you die. He grows very attached to people and things, and he hates to be separated from them. This was also evident when we visited him at his home. The story that goes with each collected item and the feeling that accompanies the acquisition of that item is what is valuable to him. Knowing that his things are cataloged and placed as he feels is right gives him comfort. And once he is comfortable in a place, like his home in Santa Fe, he doesn't move or leave. Everything is in its place and all is right in his world.
Yeah, comment on that.
Mm-hmm.
We were, when we went to visit him last year, we ended up talking about video production because we thought there might be a possibility that we could help him with one of his projects. What was interesting to both of us is that one of the complaints that he, and I'm not going to call it a complaint, one of the issues that he described to us that day is how he tolerated people coming in and doing those interviews in his home, because he described the situation, and Shelley and I, both having been in the film community, we know that you go in a place and you start moving stuff around, you put up lights, you put up a lot of wires, you tell people where they can walk and where they can't walk. We touch a lot of things probably that they don't want to see touched. And he described the situation where these big crews, and we were always small crews because that was kind of one of our sales, pitches, was that we don't bring in a big crew. When you have the Today Show come in, you're going to have 20 people in there, and you're going to have a big truck out in your yard, more than one actually. And they're going to be moving stuff around and putting up lights, and sometimes they put everything back in its place. but I get the feeling of the crotchety old man going, "Don't touch it! Don't touch it! Don't move that," because that's his safe space. That's where he's comfortable. That's where he likes being. That's where he feels like, and I think that's why he's invested so much into developing that piece of property, both inside and out. Mm-hmm. Outside in the backyard is just beautiful, and you can tell that he put a lot of time into developing it because that is his happy place, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it.
And I have to say that I think that's maybe goes along with his generation as well, because my parents are the same way. My mom is very good about everything has its place, everything's in its place. She's very meticulous about their yards, what their yards look like. You know, all the weeds have to be pulled, and they want it to look almost like a show place, like a park for her. And they're of an age, I mean, she's in her mid to late 70s as well. So I think that might be part of that generation that you take care of what you have because you need it to last a long time. That sort of a scarcity mindset that comes from the Depression.
And after I read that analysis that you did in that way, I thought to myself, well, maybe since that is his safe space for his living time, how would it apply to his safe space for where he hid the treasure and where he planned to place his body? And to me, it would have to have some of those components of controllability and neatness, and you know, there's not going to be a jump. Not that I expected there to be, but you get this sense that it had to have a visual and a feeling of comfort and ownership and warmth that he has in the same way he has in his house. So,
and I had some questions to
I saw
ponder
that.
at
That's
the
new.
end.
I think that's a good idea. Why don't you go ahead with them?
All right, these are just questions to ponder. I would like everybody to think about them as related to what we've just been talking about. So, Fenn being at home and having everything cataloged and everything's in its place, and he doesn't like it. I mean, it's okay to touch it, but not okay to move it or take it away. So how must Forrest feel being separated from the treasure chest? And what was it like for him to walk away from it? How is he taking it with him when he dies if he's already let it go? Does he feel that he still possesses it as long as he is the only one who knows the secret of where it is hidden? Did he feel the treasure chest belonged in that exact spot and he wasn't comfortable until it was placed there? If so, how will he feel if somebody finds it and removes it from its special place before he dies?
So that was the other thing. The second thing about when I asked the question about how did being the middle child, what did being the middle child have to do with the potential of hiding the treasure? And I think, his siblings, his family had all passed away by 2001, which is the period that not only he had a near-death experience with cancer, but you start looking at your life in the context of your life. And I think being the middle child was inspiration for him to sustain his memory. And I think more than anything else, the treasure was intended to be the sustaining of the Forrest Fenn memory, even though he was a middle child and had to struggle for his own identity as he grew up and became his own person. So I think that part of being a middle child is probably what inspired him to hide the treasure. So, you got anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So let me set up the outro here, and let's go to the Q&A, and let's use the big screen for this one. So I'm going to scroll backwards for this so you can...
All right.
Wait a minute, I'm going to try out something here. Okay. Go ahead.
All right, let's say hello to everybody. Joel Lewicki. Hello. Cindy Guess. Hello. 11 Bravo Treasure Finder. Hello. T.I. Mattis. Hello. Deborah Jensen. Hi from New Orleans. Jimmy Fast. Hi. Susan Heckenleibel. Hello. Scott K. Ahoy.
Ahoy, matey.
Paul Oder Rubikson, hi. Matt, hello. Rick Plank, hello from Cincinnati.
And hello from Albuquerque.
Hello back. John Polasic, good afternoon. Virgil Kane, hi from Iowa. Steve Smitherman, hello. JT, good afternoon. Eric Schmidt, cheers. Scott K, day drinking. You two are brave.
It's more like afternoon.
It is
drinking.
day.
Plus, it's Thursday, so Thursday is our easy day. So the only thing we have to look forward is our planning meeting. We'll try to get more interesting the more we drink.
More interesting. Jimmy Fast is also the oldest child. And let's see, 11. Oh, we got another super chat.
What was that?
Let's see. Alan K.
Alan K.
$20.01.
Oh, okay. So he's explaining it.
Because iOS forced me to send $19.99 last time. Here's his question.
Okay.
Do you think me in the middle could be referring to the middle of a water terrain crossing?
We that came up just a little while ago, Alan. I don't know necessarily that it could be the middle of a water terrain crossing, but the me in the middle concept, the fact that he's talking about the middle, could be applied to any, all or any of your solution for a different perspective, because we have always assumed, well, I don't want to say we, Shelley and I have always assumed that it's a linear from beginning to end kind of treasure hunt. But if there's something about the middle, I suppose you have to question at what point does the phrase, quote, the middle, unquote, become important to your solution. And I think it's a way that may cause you to look at your solution in a different way. Whether or not it specifically applies to the water crossing, I don't know. But it strikes me that this very short chapter where he talks about, so importantly to him, being in the middle and how it affected his later life, how we see it affected his later life, could imply that there's something there. I hope that answers that.
Okay.
You're a Denise Bagley?
Denise Bagley. Hello, everyone.
Oh, except for Treasure 11 Bravo.
Toby tries some Soldier Valley whiskey. It's good.
I've been looking for a good whiskey. I've got a couple of good scotches, but I need a good whiskey just for that.
Okay. Lola did it.
I don't want you to think I'm alcoholic, by the way. I enjoy my wine on occasion. I'm not.
The Thrill of the Chase book just arrived.
Yay!
Very good.
Aren't you, Lola? Aren't you from Los Alamos? All you had to do was drive down to Collected Works. You had to get down to Santa Fe every once in a while.
Was that Lola?
I think that was Lola from Los Alamos.
Because you know the Did It sisters. It was Dagmar and Lola.
Oh, was it Dagmar in Los Alamos?
I don't know. I don't remember. Jeremy Branson, hello. Dr. Brown, I like the wine tasting. It gives me time to connect for the meaningful conversation. Plus, I can rerun the whole wine commentary.
Yes, we do enjoy our wines. What does Virgil Kane say?
Reminds me of the song by Steeler's Wheel. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right, stuck in the middle with you. That's the theme song of Frankie and Grace, if you're like me and you enjoy Netflix shows. And T.I. Mattis, thank you to the mods. Thank you again. Dave Erickson, hello. Rick Plank. And once again, I want to say, Dr. Brown, thank you for the super chat. And thank you to Alan Kay as well.
And Doc, make sure you ask a question before you leave today. You're entitled to at least one question.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we charge anybody for questions.
No. Rick Blank, thank you to the moderators. Steve says hi. And Virgil Kane says thanks to the moderators. And Deborah Jensen says thanks to the moderators. And Jimmy Fast is giving us a winky face because he's a moderator. Susan Hecken-Leibel. In this little chapter, I noticed he is talking about a window again. It seems like he references a window a lot in this book. Well, the grandmother was looking out the window.
Yeah.
Can you think of others?
Window is, I can't think of them offhand, but I did a search on it once in the book, and it is relatively common used. It's not as common as, say, the word green, which we know has 7 entries in the book. So it has something there, but I haven't, Susan, I haven't been able to put anything together with it.
Steve is still naked.
Oh, dang nabbit.
Get a robe, Steve. Yeah. Or a book, whichever makes you feel better. Mary Green, hello. What is top chat versus live chat? Top chat is what we're in right now.
Top chat, yeah, we're in, and I'm afraid to change it because it always does something to me. The difference between top chat and live chat is that in live chat you get everything. Top chat, if you like somebody's chat comment, it moves it to the top. Generally speaking, most of our top chat is the same as live chat. So you can change it to live chat just if you want to see everything and kind of in the order that it was released. So,
Dan Rudy, hello. P. Ding, hi everyone. The Gypsies are drinking wine without us again.
Yes, well, no, you're here. You're drinking with us.
We're drinking for you.
We're drinking.
We'll take the hit.
We're drinking for you.
We'll be the volunteer tomato in the garden. Doc Brown here in Fort Collins. A beautiful day here.
It is down here in Albuquerque. We're going to be in the 70s today.
It is.
So
we're definitely getting outside sometime today.
We're looking forward to being out next week. Jason Michael Eunice. My son Jason Eunice is in the room. Excited to see with the new drone. I've already played with it, tested it out. Unfortunately, the guys that sold me my add-on batteries, the batteries were not new. They were used, so I had to send them back. So I'm having to do this 20 minutes at a time right now because I only have one battery. I have a new set coming in tomorrow, so I'll be able to play with it a lot this weekend. But the footage, the 4K footage that I've gotten so far is really, really amazingly good. I mean, there isn't any documentary that I wouldn't be worried about producing using this drone, and you saw how compact it was. So we're looking forward to our first production. We'll be using it next week when we go out on a recon to get some footage that we'll be using in other products.
Mm-hmm. Danny A.G., hello from Houston. Have the day off, and I've been looking up the definitions to the words in the poem.
That's a good idea, and because Fenn actually recommends that you look up. Says every word is important, and every word has a variety of meanings, so make sure you look them up in the dictionary. Or dictionary.com, I suppose. The
Straight Mustard. I would get into metal detecting laws in northern New Mexico.
Yeah, we know there's the metal detecting laws are somewhat like the drone laws. You know, you have to be very careful about where you're metal detecting with permission. We're comfortable with the BLM lands because we know they're more open to it, and the times that we've asked, they go ahead with it. State and national forests are a little bit easier. Stay out of anything. Like I said, the national park system, anything to do with the national park system, you're just asking for trouble. So we've done it. And also, I've mapped out a lot of places in New Mexico that are open to metal detecting as long as you give them the opportunity to look at what you've found or share anything of great value. So. You're at Susan Heckenlabel.
Mm-hmm. She says, I noticed on page 28, he again mentioned being in the middle in the caption of the photo as well. And that's the one where he's with the cow. And it says, that's my father in the back, brother Skippy on the left, sister June on the right, and me and Bessie in the middle, 1937. And I find it interesting that Fenn and his dad are the ones looking at the camera, and the others are all looking away from the camera.
Distracted by something else.
Mm-hmm.
So... Amy Smith was able to get rid of her husband at 1 o'clock.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So
now we know.
Yeah. Amy, if you love metal detecting, start a YouTube channel. YouTube channels with women doing metal detecting are immediately successfsuccessful. I don't know what it is.
We'll see. Clark Gable, yes.
Yes, it was Clark Gable that he was worried about whether or not his daughter. He was disappointed to find out that his daughters didn't know who Clark Gable was. That's why he decided to write his memoir.
There are about 6 or 7 words in the poem that have to do with colors. Wonder why.
Well, you know what? That's one of the ones we wonder. We also wonder why there's, I don't know if it's 6 or 7, 5 or 6 words that deal with variations in altitude. So, yeah, that's that question we haven't got an answer to for you. Amy's from Mississippi, but roots for the Hogs, the Razorbacks.
And Paul Wood is here. Hello. And Dr. Brown agrees with me about something. Oh, yeah. Jimmy Fast says he slept at a hotel at night after the Mountain Man rendezvous.
Yeah, see, that's my kind of camping at
That's
this
right.
age. I used to spend time out in a tent and a sleeping bag, but I'm at the age now where I go
Showers
back to
are
a hotel.
nice.
Yeah, go back to a nice hotel.
The Doc Brown says this one page spans his life from the actual time to him reflecting upon it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of a spiral right there.
Jason says, thanks, Siri. Yeah, Siri will answer your questions even when you don't ask her, Jason Michael, apparently. Siri, Matt says, hey, Siri, where's Fenn's treasure chest hidden? Where's Fenn's treasure chest hidden?
I didn't find any matching places.
Yeah, we're kind of
Siri
in the same
doesn't know.
So Siri's like us. She didn't find any matching places.
How about where warm waters halt? Does she know that?
I trained her to say the New Mexico State fishing regulars.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Prepared for the quiz. Did you say there was a quiz? Was there a quiz today?
Obvious question. No, I didn't. Oh, the quiz that I did. The quiz that I did last night. It turns out that several people were following along when I asked Pam those. Not brochures.
I see.
Yes, the one. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Oh, very good.
So we should do more of those.
I disagree with the middle syndrome effect. I'm the oldest of three, and my middle brother was given more responsibilities and trust than I was as a child.
Oh, really?
That can very often be true.
Wow.
And as we said, that Wikipedia stereotype is not often true.
Right, and that's why it's referred to as a stereotype. I thought the analysis that was done in Psychology Today is more accurate because it deals with the repercussions of being a middle child. There are some repercussions, and I think looking at it in a positive way that Psychology Today does is a more accurate representation, and it's also very it also describes Fenn as an adult because he fits that model. Youngest child, we spoil the youngest children, don't we? And the oldest child,
I don't think so.
the one time
I wasn't spoiled.
No,
I was very well behaved.
yeah, but look at you now.
What's that mean?
You're spoiled.
By who?
Kevin spoils you crazily.
What? I don't think so.
So I was going to address something somebody said there. Let's see. Youngest gets spoiled.
Brian Eagle's in London. Hi,
Hey,
Brian.
Brian. You know what? I went back over the chat from last week. I think it was. I can't remember which one. And I mentioned you were in Paris, and I want to ask if you went to Montmartre on Saturday and saw the artists' flea market. And there's so many places. I suppose you've been there before, but Paris is just one of my favorite cities. London, not so much. I don't know why. But hope you're having a good time, and hope to see you next week if you're still interested in performing the producer's job for us on the Wednesday night program. So I don't know whether you're aware and whether you've seen anything, but my daughter, Toby Renee, did the producer's thing for us, and she was pretty good at it. She really enjoyed it, I think.
But she gets bored, I think.
Yeah.
It's not her thing.
Yeah, it's not her thing. She doesn't understand this whole treasure hunting
And
thing.
they said something about the postmark.
I don't know.
Susan
the postmark is
Heckenleibel.
curious, but my thinking is because he was referencing a different generation. Yeah, well, of course, it's not accurate. The 11th was actually a Friday. What did I do with that? It was I think a Friday.
Yeah, you said it was a Friday.
Rather than a Thursday, and then they smudged the date, the year. But if you look at the image, it looks like he was about 13, and the one number in the year that's clear is 3. So I had to assume it was 1943, which would work out just about right. But yeah, the 10th of July is a Friday. Saturday is the 11th of July. So as usual, the postmark information was incorrect. I wish there was something to that. I've never been able to find anything for as many times as I looked.
And I only had 2 children, so
You didn't have a middle child.
I didn't have a middle child, and I didn't consider about the youngest and the oldest because it was just 2 and one of each gender. So I don't know. You having 6, I think, might have a better perspective on the birth order.
Yeah. So Jason says parents are too tired to care by the time of the youngest. Yeah.
Jason being the oldest.
Jason being classic and a classic oldest child, by the way.
But he loves all
Yeah,
his
but
siblings.
but he loves his sisters, doesn't he?
I guess he loves his brother too.
Yeah, he does. Okay, I don't know what happened there.
What did you do?
I lost track.
Belva Jenkins says hello. Jazz Winters
Wait.
has a question.
I'm not in the right place.
Oh, we're way too far down.
Okay.
All
As
right.
a student, wait. How did I manage that?
I have no idea what you did,
Okay, right there. Jason Eunice. Okay, start from the top. I'm going to scroll down.
Jason. Paul McGinty, hello from the UK.
Hey, Paul.
Brian Eagle is saying hello, and he's flying back to Austin on Tuesday.
So it looks like your thing in Austin is done with. We were sorry to see that. Austin is one of my favorite places. I went to school there at the University of Texas for a year. When I was in my last year of service in Texas before I moved out east.
Jimmy Fast says, I think Fenn hid the treasure because he wanted to effect the future in his own way. I think so.
I think that's part of it. I think that story that he tells of the Rosetta Stone and how it changed everything and how it was perceived. You know, it was not perceived to have much importance until the educators, the scientists, started looking at it, and then how it literally changed the definition of history. And how it was configured after that. So I think you're right. I think he wants to be remembered, and as Jason says, the power of his legacy is embedded in that treasure chest.
Mm-hmm. And the straight mustard is kind of chiming in there as well.
Yeah. So 2-week vacation, 3 daughters, Paris, Amsterdam, and London. Wow, those are 3 really nice places to visit. AGK rocks. Thank you, Mike. We're visiting those 3 places, not my daughters' names. Yeah, there's Paris, Amsterdam, and London.
Those would be interesting names.
Yeah, they would be.
Actually, I've heard the names Paris and London before, and not Amsterdam, but...
Steve Gaghagen agrees with Jason, a Renaissance man. Yeah, I think that's how you have to look at Fenn.
Good discussion. Fenn found his special place, then had to work backwards to create the poem to conceal it. Yes. So, Susan, I'm assuming, remember, guys, if you have a question for us, precede it with @AGK so that we know it and we don't scroll by it. So, Susan, I'm going to assume that this is directed at us. Do you think Forrest Fenn went back to the place while writing the poem? Yes. I think he would have had to visit to validate it. So I think, you know, once he identified that was the place, that his special place, he started writing. Probably the first couple of drafts were prose rather than poetry. And then he would refine the prose before he tried to turn it into poetry. I think turning it into poetry was the last step rather than early on. And we talked about that the other night, about the 15 years that it took him. So I think you have to remember, of course, that he didn't write every day, that it was a project whose life was 15 years. And inside that, there was a sub-project of translating the location and the clues to the location into poetry. And there's various steps that he'd go through to do that. And Jazz Winters says, what is with this word halt, the only one that doesn't rhyme in the end of each sentence? And we did do a video on that, Jazz. It's the keyword.
The keyword. If you go back to
and the
one of our
context
videos,
is sex, I think, something like that.
Yeah, and the context is sex.
It's like almost a year ago.
Yeah, go back there. We discussed that, and one of the things that we discovered is when you hear Fenn read the poem with his Central Texas accent, halt and walk come out almost the same. It is, you know, I think it could be a keyword because it doesn't technically rhyme if you speak the King's English. But when you hear Fenn recite the poem in his accent, they do sound like they rhyme. And maybe in his head as he was writing it, because it sounded to him like they rhymed, he went with it. Oh, those two words rhyme.
Shane McLaughlin.
Where do you see that?
Back
Go
to
back here. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Go ahead.
back to Forrest Fenn at Moby Dickens speaking. When he read the poem, he forgot the last part and had to put his glasses on. He started reading the last part before looking at the page. Do you think it?
You know what? We're going to comment on that. One of the things that we're doing in an upcoming show, I was hoping to do it next week, and it still might be. We really do want to cover this 66,000 links thing, but I don't know if it's a whole show. We're going to cover that because I was there recording, and I saw a lot of these actions as I watched the entire room. I was in the back of the room, and they actually, Jay and his wife actually made an open space for me so I could record Fenn doing this, and I used a wireless mic. But I thought it was interesting that he gets partway through reciting the poem from memory and then stumbles towards the end. And if I remember correctly, Jay took my copy. I had a copy of the poem, and he took my copy of the poem up to Fenn so that he could read it from there. I don't think he reads it from the book. Now, this could be my memory. But we are going to have a show, one of our vlogs upcoming very soon, maybe as early as next week, that discusses the notes that I made after I recorded the Moby Dickens video. And I think you'll have some insights in there. So if you listen to that show, what are you laughing at?
I was laughing at Jason. He said, Toby's definitely not an alcoholic. He's had more alcohol stolen from his home than he's consumed in it. And then somebody's wondering if Jason is confessing to stealing the alcohol.
No. I live in an apartment complex, and it's a secure apartment complex. And they had a handyman that came in to put up, my lights burned out in the kitchen, and he came in to replace them. And I wasn't at home. I've always trusted that they're going to take care of these things. And about a month later, I was doing something by my sink, and I noticed that one of my bottles of liquor was almost empty, and I just don't drink that much, so I pulled it out.
And it was one of the finer bottles that he likes to save.
That I like to savor, yeah. Even it takes me a year to get through a good bottle of scotch, literally. And so it was down to about a quarter. And so I pulled out all the other bottles because, again, not that I drink a lot, but they're sitting up there because I don't drink. And they were all reduced to 1/4, right? Every one of the bottles. And then, even more interesting, at some point, was it you that asked me to buy the cherry vodka? Or was it Sean?
It was in the freezer. It had been in the freezer for a while.
Yeah, I had a bottle of cherry vodka because somebody wanted me to make them a cherry vodka limeade. And we bought it. We decided it was terrible. So I put it in the freezer. It had 2 shots taken from it, put it in the freezer. And sure enough, that bottle was down to a quarter. So I took a picture, and I went to the office, and I said, your guy's drinking my liquor. And it turned out he was an alcoholic. He was drinking it, but he had done some other damage as well in other apartments. But it was really weird because, like, seeing that much liquor gone, I really, when I showed it to the management, to the manager, they said, well, is that anyone that visits with you? Like, really?
Yeah, it was me.
The only one that I know is Shelley. The only one that visits with me is Shelley, and she was at the time in the midst of training for a
figure competition.
A figure competition.
I wasn't drinking at all.
And she doesn't drink that much. She's like me. She has a occasional glass of wine. So, yeah, it was pretty funny there for a while to see that much liquor. And then, of course, because I didn't know what he had done with it, whether he drank from, I drained it all down, the sink. Happily, I have friends that apparently believe I'm an alcoholic because they give me liquor for my birthday.
Every year.
So
it got replaced.
Yeah.
And Dagmar is here saying sisters.
Sometimes, so we're going to have to give him 5 extra minutes because I'm storytelling here.
Okay. Toby, what do you think the second clue is? Danny A.G.
I used to think, up until this last week, I used to think that the second clue was Take It in the Canyon Down, but now I'm starting to believe that the second clue is Take It in the Canyon Down, not far but too far to walk.
Mm-hmm.
Scrolling up. You're Jimmy Fast. Jason confessing. No, he's none of my family are are big drinkers. They're like me, occasional wine and a cocktail out.
Amy Smith says, in the middle could mean midway.
Mm.
Toby, just don't drink and drone.
No, you can't. You know what? If you're Part 107 PIC, you can't. You're actually breaking a federal regulation if you drink while you fly. It just you have to have the rules are the same for a Part 107 pilot in command as they are for a guy that flies a 747.
Yeah, and you can't even get near a hot air balloon at all if you've been drinking either. Which is funny. They have to save the champagne for afterwards. The flight when everybody's off and done.
Let's see. Don't drink and drunk. Don't drink and drunk.
A lot of conversation, which is great. We're glad you guys are all coming here together and talking with each other, and we're glad to provide that platform for you. Dr. Brown, I'd like to see you do a show about backwards. I can give you some thoughts.
Send me an email. Tell me what you think. We'll figure out if there's a show in it. We got to cover a lot of territory in a show for these guys to be happy. So that's why we've actually struggled with this whole 66,000 links thing. We don't know if there's we know there's something there. We just don't know if it's a complete show.
Clayton Watson says hello.
Oh, Brian did stay at Momart.
Clayton Watson says hello.
Oh, hey, Clayton. Long time no see.
He said he texted you, and then he got a YouTube notification a minute later.
Oh, okay. Oh, was that you? I saw the text. I did see the text. We were just getting ready to go, so I didn't respond to your text message. So nice to see you again. We've missed you being around.
Fibonacci says, perhaps it refers to the middle of the search area. The middle of the map appears to be the Great Divide Basin.
Well, Fib, we've been considering the possibility that there may be something there in terms of as we said in last week's show when we talked about the surveyor and the point of commencement. We think maybe that point of commencement is defined in the first stanza, and that's why it's there. Not a clue, not a hint, just a place to start. So maybe it works into that. Yeah, I think you're right.
Amy Smith wants to know if you're a Mason.
Hold on.
Amy Smith wants to know if you're a Mason. Right there.
A Mason. No, Amy, I am not. I'm not a joiner. And I think that may be true.
Said the guy who joined the army.
Well, no. I mean, I'm not very good at membership kind of things. I don't have the patience for it. I always wanted to do it my way.
Well, what about that
Go ahead.
Remote control airplane thing? The
AMA?
Yeah.
Well, I did that because I need their insurance.
And wait, the ham radio thing.
I have same thing. I did it because I needed. I have never attended an AMA meeting ever.
Okay.
I paid them $65 a year now that I'm a senior, just so I have their insurance. They've got a great flying insurance policy. Dr. Brown, Toby Renee does a good job. Where does she bike safely? Oh my God, she lives in Fairfax County, and their Fairfax County is really good about all their bike trails. When we lived in Chantilly, we could get all the way from Chantilly into Washington, D.C., and never get on a road. They were all bike trails. We used to have this, Jason will probably chime in on this, we used to have this really wonderful bike trail called the W&OD Trail. It was a rail trail. It had been a railway at one time, and they converted it into a bike trail. And it went all the way from around our house. Well, you could get from Washington, D.C. as far east as, not Winchester. Jason, help me here. But way out into northwestern Virginia on the W&OD Trail. And Toby Renee and I have.
Oh, he does actually talk about it right here.
Oh, he does? Okay. Yeah. W&OD from Sterling and back. Yeah. It's a great trail. And they've designed it so that you never even have to cross roadways. They have bridges or underpasses to go through them. Fairfax County, that was one of the best things about Fairfax County was their bike trail system. Just a great place to grow up if you had the kind of athletes that I had, my children.
Brian Eagle says, our middle girl, Kaya, has turned up the sassiness to balance the other two. I call her Sasquatch.
Sasquatch. Yeah, she's my experience with a middle child, Brian, is that they will challenge your skills as a parent. And if you can do well with them, the others will be turn out pretty good.
Fibonacci wants to know, have you considered that the postmarks might mean the Pony Express?
Fib, I have tried every way from Sunday with those postmarks, and I just haven't come up with anything. And that was actually, I should say, that was one of the first tacks that I took when I entered, entered into the chase. I keep going back to them every once in a while to try another angle, and I just can't make anything work.
DeCall Thomas says, have you considered the number 2 as a theme? Me in the middle, less than a few, definition of several, 2 can keep a secret, line 2 equals treasure, etc.
I considered it, but then I noticed that as the 369 theme came up more often, and I couldn't figure. It's another one of those. I can't figure out what to do with it. It may be a theme. The number 2 may be a theme. The 369 thing may be a theme, but I don't know what to do with it. It just hasn't turned into anything.
Lola is in Los Alamos.
Oh, okay. Yes.
It was just easier to order the book online.
I don't know. Come on. You've been to the Collective
You're not
Works.
that far from Santa Fe.
It's like 20 minutes away from you.
Straight Mustard is also in Los Alamos.
Oh.
But live in Bandelier. Okay.
Whatever Lola wants.
McLaughlin.
McLaughlin.
Okay. Thank you, Shane. Appreciate that.
What were you saying?
McLaughlin.
Oh, McLaughlin.
McLaughlin.
I don't think you have to go.
Well, I think I do.
Okay. All right, guys. We got to get ready for a planning meeting. So I don't see any more questions. Let's see. Jimmy Fast, Amy Smith, AGK. Oh, Amy Smith, AGK. There's an old Forrest Fenn myth where the myth is that he said that the treasure was at least 66,000 links north of Santa Fe. And he did that at a point where he was trying to keep people, supposedly, where he was trying to keep people away from digging up places in Santa Fe, including his own backyard. Jason.
Yeah.
Don't get Toby started on his drinking and drone story. The poor chickens will never be the same.
What chickens are these?
This is Jay. That's my son. You know
He's
how.
making stuff up now. Huh?
Yeah, he's just funny as that.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that don't know Jason as well as I do, he is absolutely the funniest person in the world. He can make me laugh to the extent that if we're driving, I end up having to pull off the road because I squint my eyes. So. Okay.
Hit the like button, everybody. Thanks, Journeyman.
Don't forget, please give us a thumbs up and a like. If you're not already a subscriber, subscribe to the channel.
There are 2 quick questions,
And,
if you could answer them quickly.
Quick questions. Okay.
Heather Guion.
Heather Guion, AGK, hi guys. Has Forrest Fenn ever mentioned the untold story of
Mrs.
Eric Fommel? Not to the best of my knowledge. I don't recall him mentioning it. But I don't, at the same time, Heather, I haven't heard everything that Forrest has said. And then who was the other one?
Timothy Alcar.
Let's see. AGK, hello to all. What is the best Saturday to use?
Sat.
Oh, the best what?
Satellite? Sat?
Sat to use besides Google. My favorite is GMAP4. Although you can look at the National Geographic Maps system that we talked about. We have a video on it. My personal favorite is GMAP4. It's the most flexible, and it allows you to build layers. So just go to GMAP4 or search GMAP4, and that'll get you to it. It has a very strong search tool as well. So that's the one that I use every time.
I don't understand Brian Eagle's thing.
ATK also mentions Dr. Pepper and the Thrill of the Chase. They are famous for 10, 2, and 4, kind of pointing to the 3 and 9. Is that the Thrill of the Chase or Too Far to Walk?
Where he talks about putting
the Dr. Pepper in the. Well, yeah, but you're right. The 10, 2, and 4 was another thing that we looked at. Again, 3, 6, 9. We see it as often probably as DeCall sees the number 2. So, okay, we got to get going here, guys. Thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate the conversation. We've had another great time with you all. Do I need to close this? No, I just need to go back. Here.
There we are.
Okay, you're full screen.
Yes, thank you for joining us today, for all the great conversation, for all your questions and comments. We appreciate you being here. Don't forget to check out the Just the Facts video tomorrow, and Saturday we'll be on videotarot.tv with a live show at 10 o'clock in the morning. Please do check that out and subscribe. And maybe not everything will be to your liking, but I think some of the things that we'll put up there will be to your liking. So go ahead and subscribe and just check it out and see.
You know, we end up producing a lot of material that isn't related to the Fenn search, including things like the drone footage and Shelley's interest in metal detecting. And, you know, like I said, I get 3 questions a week on how we produce our show using OBS. And so we feel like we needed to put it someplace, and the logical place, because Video Tarot doesn't have a theme necessarily. It's just a lot of our work.
And I did put up a new video today at www.thesofterside.me. It's called Why She Changes and How to Deal with Those Changes. So check that out as well, and please subscribe.
You know, when we go away from our channel for just from the screen, it goes out of sync. So if you're dealing with out of sync issues, it's not our fault. It's OBS thing.
Give us a thumbs up on this video, and be sure to, I don't know, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. All that YouTube talk.
Jason, Michael, thank you. Keep joining our thing, because you're just darn funny, and you can share all my secrets with the group. All right.
Thank you to Dr. Brown and Alan K for your super chat today. If you didn't get a chance to do super chat, what can they do?
They can go to our paypal.me account at paypal.me/Gypsy Kiss and make whatever contribution they'd like. Any contribution is greatly appreciated. It helps us, it inspires us to continue to produce quality work and to produce more quality work. So
thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you soon. We'll see you next week for Chapter 8, and we'll see you on Tuesday for a great new live analysis conversation, and of course Wednesday for panel.
I haven't got a subject yet.
Oh, and we're going out of town next week, so we'll keep you updated on Sunday. So look for that update video on Sunday as well.
Okay.
And for Gypsy's Kiss, the book club, I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Saturday for those of you that have an interest.